We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from youth. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. I have a question. Are you tired of listening to the same old radio station, playing the same old music, and using the same old talking points that divide our country? If so, join me at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio, a station that's on the move in 2015. Hello, my name is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio and Waco 4-State Community Talk Radio. When looking for talk radio, there are many things to consider. We believe that we are the best source to bring you a wide variety of topics: the rights of women, civil rights, social rights, constitutional rights, and all other rights we have as citizens. The goal is to link all communities to one station. We believe when people talk, we make a difference. Tune in Monday nights, latest night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Good afternoon, or good morning rather. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. We're going to talk just a little bit about today. Today is Super Tuesday, and we need to make sure that all of those states that are out there having the opportunity to go and vote, that we go and exercise our right to vote. Because if you look back, people have paid their life, paid the ultimate price, the ultimate sacrifice for you to be able to exercise this right. So we want to explain just a little bit to you about what is going on and the importance of Super Tuesday. Now, we know that Super Tuesday has basically made it here today. It is important. It is extremely important that you exercise your right on Super Tuesday. It is the biggest, the single most day for presidential candidates to be able to receive delegates, thanking voters in 12 states. And in those 12 states, we know that this can end up being the turning point for all that's going on. So here we are. We know that most of the time people say one thing and do another. So at the end of the day, when the smoke clear and the dust settle, once again we want to make sure that you go out and exercise that particular right to go out and cast your vote. So here we are trying to educate the people about what's going on in Super Tuesday. We want to make sure that people understand that the day is today, which is a turning point in most presidential election in many years. Now, it typically serves as the key indicator as to who the nominee will be for each party. Now, that has always been the rule of thumb, but we're not sure how this thing is going to go now, because we know that things have changed. We know that people are doing this totally different. We know that voters are now actually totally different. So when the smoke clear and the dust settle, we want to make sure that you have gone out and did what you needed to do to go out and cast your vote. So who's in the race? We told you the other night that we have a businessman, a lunatic, a bigot, and an assumed racist, Donald Trump. We have the most inexperienced candidate, Senator Marco Rubio. We have the most sleazy other United States senator running, which is Ted Cruz. And then, of course, we have a balanced guy, Governor John Kasich, and a when you look on the Democratic side, okay, you will find that there is Senator Bernie Sanders, who has cast a shadow of Field to Burn. And then you now have former Secretary of State and former First Lady Hillary Clinton. Now let's look at why Super Tuesday is very important. It is very important because here is what's at stake. 595 Republican delegates are up for grabs. Again, 595 Republican delegates are up for grabs, which equates to about 25% of the total number of delegates needed are available on this particular day, Super Tuesday. The Republicans as a whole, they need 1,237 delegates to be considered the nominee and win the Republican nomination. Now, there is an uproar because many of these people that are out there now running, that are out there holding a public office, do not want the front runner as of right now, Mr. Donald Trump, to be the Republican nominee. So when you look at the 1,237 some odd delegates that are needed, the question is, after tonight on Super Tuesday, what message will be sent to Donald Trump if he ends up winning the majority of all of these states, with the exception of, we know that the polls are saying that Ted Cruz is actually leading in Texas. But here's the deal. Do you want an alternative in Ted Cruz? Well, if you flip over this script and you look at the Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, not nominee, the Democratic candidates, you will find that the Democrats somehow needs 2,383 delegates. Now, there are about 1,004 Democratic delegates available today on Super Tuesday. So this is why today is important, because it allows the candidates to either flex their muscle or lay their head down in the sand and wonder, should they continue to go further? So if you have a candidate that's out there and you want this candidate to shine, the best thing you can do is go out and cast your vote. Now, the states involved in Super Tuesday also represent about 130 so-called super delegates. And I know that you've heard about super delegates. Okay, so the Democrats who are not pledged to support the winner for their states, the vast majority of super delegates have already pledged their support for Hillary Clinton. And there are some progressives, such as myself, who have an issue with that. But here's the deal. It has always existed. And until it changes, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. So, since we have told you who's in the race, since I have indicated to some degree what is at stake, let me tell you what states are involved in today's Super Tuesday. You have Alabama. You have the state of Arkansas. You have Georgia. You have Massachusetts. You have Minnesota. You have Oklahoma. You have Tennessee. You have Texas, Vermont, and Virginia. So when you look at all of these states, my question to you is this: what is it that you would do? What is it that you would do to try to get people involved? Or if you're out there listening to the Smoking Glass Hour right now in the state of Texas, I know that Mr. Aaron Hopkins is out there. Mr. Willie Russell is out there. I know Dr. Riley Bratton is out there in North Carolina. I know that we have some other individuals that are out there listening to the broadcast right now. So my question is this: what is it that you're going to do to try to make this thing better? Alaska will hold the Republican caucuses, while the American Samoa will caucus for the Democrats. Colorado will caucus for both parties, though only the Democrats are choosing a candidate. The Republicans in Colorado have opted to select delegates only, and then let those delegates choose which candidate to support at the national convention. So Super Tuesday has now also been labeled as the SEC primary, which the reason why they say that is because there are people who represent the SEC in football. So as a result of that, people are calling this particular big date, calling it Super Tuesday, also the SEC primary. Okay, so we know that there's an influx of southern states, all of which have teams that compete in Southeastern Athletic Conference, led to the name of the SEC, which is called the Southeastern Conference. Now, let's look at how delegates are awarded. In most cases, states participating in Super Tuesday will award delegates proportionally, meaning candidates will receive delegates based on the percentages of their votes they receive, as long as they meet a certain threshold. That threshold varies from state to state. So if you are in Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, and Virginia, you may want to check to see what percentages each candidate needs to meet in order to be awarded delegates. So here we are. We've told you about who's in the race. We've told you about what's at stake. We've told you about what states are participating in Super Tuesday. We've told you about the SEC primary, also known as Super Tuesday. And I just told you how delegates are awarded. Now, I'm hoping that you're learning more now from the Smoking Glass Hour than you did in your history courses. And if you did, and you're out there listening, send us a message to www.thesmokingglasshour@gmail.com. That's our email address. You can let us know how you feel about this broadcast. Now, Alabama and the big prize. Alabama awards its delegates proportionally, which means this: Republican candidates will be competing for 50 delegates in this particular state. Democrats are competing for 60 in Alabama, 53 committed delegates, and 7 super delegates. The big prize on Super Tuesday is this: the state of Texas, which is where Ted Cruz is hailing from, where he's nestled at, which is why the polls are saying that Cruz is leading in Texas. And if Cruz can tap into that certain threshold, he can take away some of those numbers from Donald Trump, and it'll look like a one-man, two-man race. But what does that say about Marco Rubio? Because in the 11 or some odd states, he would not have won any race as of yet. And coming in second and third is not good. Let's look at the big prize on Super Tuesday is this. And make sure you take heed to this, and make sure you go out and tell people about this right here. Make sure you let people understand and be aware that Texas has 155 delegates, and the Democratic side has 252, which is why 25% of today's delegates are awarded on Super Tuesday. Now, some say it's all over after Super Tuesday. That's what the pundits say. But I'm venturing out to say that even if Senator Bernie Sanders does not do very well, I am vying and saying and hoping and praying that when the smoke clears and the dust settles, he will still be able to move forward and continue this revolution that he has created against Hillary Clinton. Because at some point in time, screens from the center, we talked last night on the live broadcast, he indicated that he believes that if former Senator Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, wins, then all of these progressives in this movement can force her to do things that Bernie can not do should he not prevail in this particular race. So here we are. The crowd may end up thinning after tonight. There are still large primaries ahead, including, get this now, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, and Missouri, which happens and takes place on March the 15th, and New York in April of 2016, April the 19th. So the final multi-state primary day does not happen until June the 7th, when California, large, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota, as well as North Dakota Democrats, will be voted. So I have given you a lot of information, and I want to make sure that you can go back and share the archive. You can go out and continue to listen to it. You can share it by a Facebook. You can share it by Twitter. You can share it by Instagram. You can share it by any which way you choose to share it, because it is in an MP3 format. So I have told you about who's in the race. I have told you about what's at stake. I have told you about who or what states are voting. I have told you about who and how the delegates are awarded. And I've told you also about the biggest prize of today, which is the state of Texas. 155 delegates goes to the Republicans, and 252 delegates go to the Democrat, depending on whether you reach a certain threshold. Right now, you're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour. We're talking about Let's Talk Super Tuesday. I'm going to pause briefly, and I'll be right back. I have a question. Are you tired of listening to the same old radio station, playing the same old music, and using the same old talking points that divide our country? If so, join me at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio, a station that's on the move in 2015. I have a question. Are you tired of listening to the same old radio station, playing the same? You are listening to WMAD 24-hour Global Radio, where you can relax and listen to all genres of music every day, live talk shows, and we feature real people making a difference in the community. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend to listen to WMAD 24-hour Global Radio, a station that's on the move in 2015. Join us. We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from youth. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass,
Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Yes, sir. You can check us out at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. All of these services are brought to you directly by Administrative Services Direct. You can check out Administrative Services Direct by going to www.thesmokingglasshour.com. Hover over to your right. You will see a tab that says Administrative Services Direct. You can click on the tab and it will tell you exactly what they do and how successful they are in helping the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. So we want to make sure that we the people get back involved in the political process. So here is my formal analysis with regards to what it is that we need to be doing, how we need to go about doing it, and how we need to get these people involved. These people meaning we the people. We know that we the people consist of a lot. Okay, we know that something has to take place. We know that why is it important for our young people to go out and vote? What issues would influence your vote the most? And how can our youth influence the outcome of any election? Well, you see, here's the deal. The upcoming presidential election is in November of 2016. And it has now drawn renewed attention to the importance of the youth vote, as well as the challenges that youth voters face in 2016. Now, statistics have shown that young voters can make a big difference in election outcomes. In the 2012 presidential election with Barack Obama won at least 61% of the youth voters in swing states like Florida, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. So it's very important, parents and grandparents, that you encourage your young kids to get out there and cast their vote. You see, young voters also represent a more diverse population than the general voting population. Here's a deal. In the 2010 midterms, 66% of young voters were white, 14% were African American, 15% were Hispanic, and 3% were Asian. However, here's why. Young people consistently vote in relatively low numbers, which is why we, the adults, we, the leaders, must get them involved in the political process. See, though youth voters are important, studies that are out there have suggested that they are particularly vulnerable to negative impacts from laws that restrict voting from taking place. You see, voting restrictions differ by state, but frequently require voters to show certain proof of residency or specific types of ID, such as a driver's license. And guess what? 18% of Americans ages 18 to 24, they lack the ID that is required to vote in their state. And young people change addresses more frequently than the general population, which has a negative effect on their ability to vote. So you see why voter ID can also cause a problem when it comes to the most basic fundamental right, which is the right to vote. Several practices could combat these effects to help youth voter turnout. See, how about voter pre-registration, which allows young people to register to vote before the age of 18, is available in a number of states. And if you are out there listening, whatever state you reside in, please check to see what the restrictions and the requirements are. Let's look at in Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Maryland and Rhode Island citizens can register after the age of 16. Please go out and register to vote. In California, Louisiana, where I hail from, Maine, Nebraska, Oregon, and West Virginia allow citizens over 17 years of age to vote. Citizens that register early can begin voting at the age of 18. You see, in my final analysis, here's why I believe that voting is important. Early voting is also useful in attracting higher number of young voters, and that is based on statistical data that has been discovered. Okay, 43 states have options for early voting, and 1 in 5 voters are expected to vote early in upcoming elections in 2016. Allowing voters to register on the same day as the election is also useful to a young, highly mobile population. So you see that electing individual candidates is still left up to the people. But somehow, some way, we have allowed Wall Street, the big time 1%ers, all of these rich millionaires to jump in and control the political process. So here we are. When you look at Morning Joe, when you look at Fox News, Bill O'Reilly, and all these other people, their number one goal is to distort the message and divide the people. I need you. I am begging you to get involved in the political process. I am asking you to please listen in and tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. I am asking you to get other people involved, even if you don't disagree, even if you don't agree rather, with everything that we are saying. Our number one goal is to try to make a difference. We try to create a climate that you can become a part of the process, that you can get involved. We hope that we can inspire, encourage, and engage you to get involved in the political process. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. You can also check us out on Blab Live Video. You can check us out on Periscope. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Spreaker.com, which is where we're at today. You can check us out on Blog Talk Radio by calling in at 773-897-6398 on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Once again, I'm asking you to go to www.thesmokingglasshour.com and hover on over and look at Administrative Services Direct and all of the services that they offer. Perhaps you're out there listening and you need some marketing, you need some Facebook help, you need some media help, you need some advertising help. Contact Administrative Services Direct and they will be sure to help you with some positive influences and allow you to be able to flourish in your particular business. Once again, thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. Let's Talk Super Tuesday. I hope that we've said something that will push you out there to go and vote. Remember, we had people to lose their life so you can have a right to vote. Even if you're voting for Trump, I'll go this far to say, as long as you can live with the conscience that you have allowed to vote, as long as you can be convicted to be able to defend the reason and the rights as to why you chose whatever candidate. Again, our number one goal is to make a difference. WMAD stands for We Make a Difference, and we includes all the people, black, white, red, brown, the purple, and yellow. First, you gotta be inclusive in order to be able to say all. All means all. At the end of the day, when the smoke clears and the dust settles, check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram, Pinterest, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and all of those other social media outlets that are out there. We want to say once again, thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We have been talking to you today about Let's Talk Super Tuesday. Again, I hope that you learned something in this particular broadcast that you have not learned in American history, in the classroom, in the country. Have a great day. Good night.